Hi everybody, this is BRAD365. Something I've never done. I've never actually shown you what it is I'm riding and going over what all I have and what all I've done to it. A lot of people don't talk about what they've done to their machine or things they have on it, but I think people might want to know. So this is what I ride. 2017 XP1K. It's a Ride Command Edition. I've had it since it was just about new, had 175 miles on it when I bought it, so basically new, it was only 6 months old. I made the cage, fabbed that up, the front bumper, made that, has a remote port here for the winch remote for that, made the rear bumper. I put a step down here to step on so you can get up. The spare tire carrier I made. That works really well. In here, I keep cooler. It's a nice one. It straps down here on that side and on this side when I need it to. Of course, can just take that right out. And then, of course, the rigid toolbox. Fire extinguisher. I do think everybody should carry one of these. We have never, me or anybody I ride with, never needed it yet, but it's smart. It was only, I think, 20 bucks for the mount, another 20 bucks for the fire extinguisher, bought separately. So, I mean, it's pretty cheap, and it might save you. The shocks. I got the Shock Therapy dual rate spring kit for both the front or the back and the front. And it's a huge difference. You send in all the weights. I had weighed the cage I added minus the weight of the stock one. The skid plate I put on, show you that in a minute. I made for it. I weighed everything as I did everything on the machine. Your weight, the weight of the toolbox. You send all that into Shock Therapy. They give you special tuned springs that once you set the ride height once, I've had 2,000 miles on them, never had to adjust it for even half an inch. And the ride quality is incredibly better. Suggest doing that. It doesn't bottom out. It doesn't bottom out, doesn't buck when you jump. It fixed like everything. That really wasn't a problem to begin with, but sure is nicer to have it this way. Other big improvement. I recently went to Carnivore, 30-inch by 10 by 14 rim, all the way around. The Maxi Carnivores, I can't recommend enough. But the traction difference in all terrain and the ride quality, I always thought tires couldn't be that big a deal. It's a huge difference. I would have used the stock rims. You can use all the stock rims. But the Carnivores, I read that they wear down a little faster. So this way, I bought all four same rims. Those are Tusk Cascade. They're not expensive. They're not beadlock. I have never needed a beadlock yet. The reason I went with all four of the same rims was now I can rotate the tires. So as I wear down the back, because they always wear down faster, I can rotate them to the front to the back, and I can make the tires last longer that way. I also made the mud flaps. You'll see that this is riding on here because these are old truck mud flaps. These came from a place not far from me that does custom bodies on like rigs, dump trucks, custom dump bodies. Well, all the trucks come with temporary mud flaps. They have a pile of them out back for 20 bucks. I picked through whatever I wanted, and I cut these with just a razor knife, heated it up a little bit, bent them. These work fantastic. I did those. I put these on the back. I didn't want to drill holes like all the kits tell you to do in my original plastics. So I made a mount here, mounted it from underneath, and just put some screws in that way. Don't know if that comes through pretty good or not. These are a lifesaver when it gets to be really muddy out. I actually, now that I've changed over to the Carnivores, I should probably make ones that come out maybe an inch or so more. I probably won't bother. It's not that big a deal. You don't get that dirty. And let's face it, if you're worried about getting dirty, you shouldn't be doing this. So the front, this is a RZR turbo hood. Some of you might have noticed. What I did here was I saw a guy in West Virginia on the Half of McCoy trails do this, and I thought, well, I'm a child of the 80s, so I had to do it too. I put in the kit sensor light. I put it in a PVC or tubing, like a fuel tubing there. It's an LED strip. I took the stripping off the back because it becomes rigid mounted. I slid it through a tubing, corked the one end, silicone the other, and just mounted the wiring brain here, set it to what I wanted on the little remote. I do have it as a quick disconnect, so if I ever have to take the hood off and get out of the way and work at it, I can do that. Under the hood, I have my tow strap, and this is a dry bag that holds a 12-volt submersible pump with a 30-foot hose on it. It's only like 25 bucks online, like everything is, cheap. I got this because after a trip in Tennessee down at Ride Royal Blue, we all had such bad problems with caked mud in the radiators. With that little pump, you just sit there at any water source, out of your cooler if it's melted ice or whatever, and you can hose down your radiator or anything you need to. So it's a cheap thing. I got the room to store it, so why not do it? I'll show you what I keep in my toolbox in the back. I think you should always carry spare tools and some spare parts. A lot of people don't, but this is actually coming more handy for other people than it has for myself, but you never know. So I got one of these rigid boxes from Home Depot. It's nice, it's waterproof, has a seal around it. In the top tray, that's my go-to easy to get stuff, easy to reach. I can take that out, go to wherever it needs to be. $5 Harbor Freight air compressor. These are the best tire plugs you'll ever see. You can get these online. What's nice about these is how long they are. Oh, look at that. Each plug is that long. That's nice because if you put more than like 2 plugs in, you can push one into the tire, hold it because it's long while you push the other one in, and you don't lose the one while you do the other. I have other regular tire plugs as well. This is just some small electrical stuff, wire nuts, crimps, whatever. Your standard Polaris comes with the RZR toolkit. And then this here is my tire. I took an old drill index box, hung a magnet there so it closes, and that's your tire repair kit. Extra valve stem, some lug nuts for the spare tire because that still has the stock rim. It won't use the special lug nuts that come with the other rims. And I got some tire patches in there in case somebody else needs that. An air pressure gauge, big deal, out on the trail, don't matter. And of course the glue, which is one of the most important things if you don't have that. The valve stem tool, a knife for trimming off the plugs, though you don't really have to. That stays in there, some wire ties, and always a rag to wipe your hands with. This is essential. I've used this a number of times, a folding saw. Of course, a spare belt. That's a Gates belt. I still have the original belt on mine at 4,355 miles, but carry a spare strap for whatever you might want to tie down, a bigger one, a small one. Scissor jack I took out of a scrap yard. The mount as well I took out of the scrap yard with the car it came out of. Who knows what car, I can't remember. And the crank down kit piece for it there. That was like, $5. I got your standard tools, just got adjustables, some sockets, the tool to get into where the belt is in there, the remote for the winch, duct tape, of course, a spare ball joint. I've got stuff to replace that in here. A breaker bar with the socket for the lug nuts. And this is just like hose clamps, some spare bolts, ones that 15 millimeter size ones, 10 millimeter ones. Who knows, right? Some spare body panel clips. You never know what you might need. Now I'll show you the inside, what I've done to the interior. I always carry a Leatherman tool right here. I keep it at the bottom of the seat like this because it's easy to get to, and heaven forbid you have a rollover and you got to cut your seatbelt off or something, which I don't anticipate ever happening, but it's there because it's handy and whatnot. So underneath the front seat, the driver's seat, I got first aid kit. That comes right out of there with a little pull handle. Of course, there's a battery. Lots of storage. Lots of storage in a Polaris RZR. When you sit inside, Here at the steering wheel, I've added these two buttons, on-off latching switch, and then a momentary switch. The on-off does the windshield wiper, turns on and off, and the momentary one does the washer for the windshield wiper. So as I'm driving, I don't gotta take my hands off the wheel. I can just hit that and that works that. It is connected here with a weatherproof plug. So I unhook that, unplug the water line, which just is a little hose, comes right off of the hard line here, runs back to the washer fluid reservoir. And the windshield comes off with just these 4 turn screws. I don't have the ability right now with this back window in, that's only in for the winter, but in spring and fall, I can take that windshield off in 5 minutes, and I have docking ports behind the rear seats that bolts right to. So the windshield can sit behind the seats, and I can take it on and off, because some days it gets warmer later and you don't want the windshield on. I mean, it's great for when it's cooler out, but you don't always want it. In here, I also have the mount for my Galaxy pad. This here is a mount I made. You can plug it in here to power, and I added a 12-volt power outlet up here behind my mirror. So it's a real short little 4-inch cord, goes from here to there, keeps it charged up all day. That I run my Lifetime Trail Maps app. Excellent, excellent app to have. It's expensive, it works. This is the Ride Command. You'd say I wouldn't need this, but the Ride Command has its pluses and minuses, and so does this. Here in PA, there's a lot of places like DCNR trails Lifetime doesn't have. They do show up, however, in my Ride Command. So a lot of places where I'm from in Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, the Ride Command comes in very handy, has a lot of maps, and it's good. But what's nice about the Lifetime Apps Trail Map app is it has points of interest. So when I go someplace I've never been before, like I was just at Spearhead Trails for the original Pocahontas trails in Virginia, and it tells you points of interest to go to, and also includes outlaw trails. The Ride Command does not include outlaw trails, and there's a lot of forums on how to add trails into it or upload trails to it, and it's just too complicated. Bought that, it works. And back here I've got the reservoir out of an F-150, out of a scrapyard, 1997 F-150 if it matters. That's the reservoir for the washer fluid up front, spare tire of course. These are for the whips, the wires for them are right here. They just plug in then. I store the whips in my trailer, so when I don't have them on, don't have to worry about hitting stuff. This back here is a chainsaw mount. I made that for an old buggy I had, and my Craftsman chainsaw here, $30 at a yard sale. Runs every time. Sits right in there. And then this strap here would go from this side to the back side, and you ratchet it down, and there you got a nice chainsaw for doing outlaw trails. And that is not a bad idea, because you do come across larger limbs that are down that maybe your winch can't get out of the way, or who knows what. I also made the UHMW skid plate and A-arm, front A-arm plates, protectors. Also put skid plates on the trailing arms. Let me see if I can show you. So you just put these pieces in an oven, get them to about 300 degrees, maybe a little more. You can use MAP gas on a torch and heat up an area. And the plastic, the UHMW, will easily bend, but you gotta hold it in place till it cures, so to speak. So I just put like a 2x4s and made like a jig and just screwed it fast. The screw holes you can't even see anymore. But they completely cover the A-arms. Big help. And then I took this is all out of a single piece. I think they come 4 foot by 10 foot, UHMW. I got it out of New Jersey. It's a plastic distributor. I made the skid pan, which gets this lip turned up with the heat. It's one piece underneath all the way across. I made it into a second piece for the back so I can take it apart a little easier. But this front piece here is one piece. I trimmed out where the trailing arms mount up. I trimmed out where they go. They mount there. And I made skid protection here for the trailing arms too. No, I didn't do any engine modifications or any other powertrain modifications. It's bone stock otherwise, completely. The engine, the trans, axles are still stock. The only thing I found I had to replace often is a wheel bearing, but it's $27, all balls, wheel bearings is where I get mine. They come in one day to my house shipped. It takes me 1 hour to change out any one of them. It's a cheap maintenance thing. And I check these wheels for wobble, for anything like that after every ride. I will come back home, wash it, check them out. If they have a little bit of a wobble, I change out the bearing. Just something to try and keep it from bringing down on the trail a little better. And that's it. That's my 2017 Ride Command Polaris RZR1000xp. I couldn't say you can't get any better. It's a great machine. I'm sure all the machines out there are just as good. They can be just as reliable with maintenance and taking care of it like I have with this. But for me, the storage compartments in the front, under the seats being completely removable to wash, big plus. A 4-door or 4-walled storage bed, most manufacturers don't do that. Honda doesn't do that. Yamaha doesn't do that. Can-Am doesn't do that. The new KRX Kawasaki kind of does, has a little lip in the back, but it's a big enough area that that's not as bad. But Polaris is like the only one that has a 4-walled bed, and it makes all the sense in the world. Nothing comes out. But yeah, hope you guys liked it. If maybe you learned something, maybe you hate it. Doesn't matter. Any suggestions or questions, leave in the comments section, please. I do read them all if I have any, and I will get back to you and help you out if you need anything or tell you more if you want to know something in more detail. Thanks for watching.